Chosen one, congratulations. A verdict has been delivered in the unseen courts of creation, and it is final. The chapter of pain that nearly broke you is now closed with cosmic authority. No retrials. No appeals. The record of your struggle has been archived in dimensions that the forces of confusion can't access. Elon Musk's call for new frontiers isn't about Mars or machines alone. It mirrors what has just occurred within you. When he speaks of breaking systems from the inside, he echoes your own victory. You were placed inside the old architecture of fear as a living update, a line of divine code that the program couldn't contain. What they called suffering was, in truth, a dismantling. While you gasped for breath, the old matrix began to crash. The illusions, the manipulations, the endless loops of pain deleted. The subscription to sorrow has expired, and the renewal button no longer exists. Now the algorithm of your life is being rewritten by higher law. Every fragment of that season is turning into data for strength, innovation, and purpose. You are proof that heaven's design cannot be corrupted by chaos. So when Musk urges humanity to think beyond limits, know that you are already living that command. The universe's most advanced technology is your transformed soul, and its launch sequence has begun. You demonstrated that their most advanced software was based on false information. You just got out of a terrible season that wasn't simply pandemonium. It was the last cosmic authority test you had to take. Most people never make it through an exam. Each strike followed a predetermined pattern. Every treachery was timed to do the most harm possible. Every setback was planned to weaken your resolve at the precise point when statistics indicate that individuals give up control of their lives. This was more than simply spiritual conflict. This was deliberate destruction intended to establish an unbroken cycle of defeat that would be passed down through your family for many years. Because they affect almost everyone, the adversary functions similarly to a virus that repeatedly repeats its damaging patterns. Health crises, marital breakdowns, financial devastation, and abandonment. These are their best hits, their tried-and-true method for smashing selected ones. They put all they had on destroying you because they were so sure of their approach. The fact that certain spirits are constructed differently never occurred to them. They never thought that someone who was meant to be the evidence of their system's failure would come into contact with their infallible system. You were intended to break forever at a certain time that was well planned. The adversary had prediction models, spreadsheets, and algorithms that all pointed to that precise tipping moment. But when that time came, an extraordinary event took place. You compacted into something denser, tougher, and more durable rather than shattering. You turned into a spiritual gem where they thought dust would be found. You weren't the only one saved by your unwillingness to obey. It infected their operating system with a virus that started tainting all of their programs against selected ones throughout the globe. A system malfunction that spread over their whole network was caused by your survival at that critical intersection. All of a sudden, they were losing intellect. They made a mistake in timing. They were making blunders with their human agents. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. They were becoming less coordinated as spiritual principalities. It wasn't only the forces striking you that caused the collapse. It has an impact on their whole worldwide operation structure. They will always be haunted by your failure to break when breaking seems certain. They are unable to diagnose a problem in their matrix. Here's what you should know about the burden you were bearing. However, there was something about your anguish that wasn't unique to your lifetime. Generational loans that had accrued compound interest for decades, or perhaps millennia, were being processed by you. Not simply last names and DNA are passed down via bloodlines. With every generation that fails to break them, they pass on unhealed wounds, unresolved conflicts, and destructive cycles that get heavier. As the circuit breaker, you were selected to withstand the surge and bear the whole electrical burden of generational dysfunction. This explains why your pain seems out of proportion to your real errors or decisions. You were battling more than just your own issues. You were standing there as the voice of all those descended from you. the descendants who won't have to try, as well as the predecessors who couldn't succeed. Something extraordinary occurs when a selected one manages to carry this ancestral weight without breaking. The bloodline is reset entirely. In the system of spiritual courts, the curses lose their legal validity. Suddenly, the patterns that have regenerated over generations are unable to find a new host. At the molecular level of your existence, something extraordinary was taking place as you endured what seemed like an eternity of torment. The majority of trauma survivors have scar tissue that dictates their limits for the rest of their lives. However, other people have a different way of handling pain. Your spiritual DNA was naturally turning wounds into insight that could not be taught in any other manner, poison into medication, and weakness into authority. Every betrayal that ought to have made you angry instead endowed you with extraordinary wisdom. Every loss that should have filled you with terror instead filled you with trust that astounded the angels of heaven. Instead of weakening you, every strike revealed power you were unaware existed in human form. The adversary committed a deadly mistake. They spent a great deal of money attempting to break you via certain types of pain, unaware that their weapons will be transformed into your armory by your spiritual metabolism. In essence, they covered the cost of your upgrade. They paid for your metamorphosis. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. Your ascent was sponsored by them. To create your impenetrable armor, they used their best ammo. They used every tactic in the book to improve your defenses. In reality, they were training you for a degree of power they cannot even fathom, even if they believe they were destroying you. They weren't winning, despite the tension you felt at the finish. It was desperate. The adversary became aware that their ammo and time were running low. The window of opportunity they had was swiftly closing. Therefore, they used everything at once in a last, well-planned attack to ruin you before you could really comprehend what you were turning into. Hell, actually dumped all of its weapons on you. You were granted permission to fight any demon that harbored resentment against your calling. They engaged every human agent in their network to work against you. All the systemic forces under their control were focused at your destruction. It was, in essence, battle without respite, which is why it seemed that way. You were feeling the focused rage of a whole kingdom that realized its rule was coming to an end. They had knowledge of cosmic timing that most people never do. There are times when the chosen ones are at risk of complete devastation, and other times when they are rendered untouchable. They knew they wouldn't have another opportunity if they didn't shatter you during your dark season, which was their last window. Not in any dimension, not in any timeline, not in this lifetime. However, they miscalculated the source of your power, which proved to be deadly. They were engaged in combat with an endless power source and limited resources. The elegance that matched the fury of each weapon they used was amplified. The knowledge that beyond human capabilities repelled every tactic they used. There was an unquenchable love that fueled every onslaught they unleashed. You were moving up to frequencies where their guns couldn't even latch onto you as a target, while they were using their reserves in an attempt to kill you. You didn't intentionally attain this elevation by spiritual or meditational techniques. Spiritual DNA is automatically transformed as a consequence of enduring pressure. Your endurance essentially changed the rules controlling what might touch you, much as how intense pressure may turn carbon into diamond. That if you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. The same sounds that used to break your heart with a whisper now sound like static on a malfunctioning radio that you can hardly hear. The same anxieties that prevent you from even identifying your new frequency once they immobilize you. They don't have permission to access the dimension where you've been moved. Something old in the spiritual world that most people never activated was triggered by your survival. Heavenly immunity. It's the sort that becomes ingrained in your biological structure, not the kind you pray for or hope for. Your soul started creating antibodies against the particular kind of pain that had previously shattered your tranquility. Now, Manipulation is detected by your inner warning system before the manipulator has even completed developing their plan. Toxic energy is detected by you before it may pollute your surroundings. When deceit is still rehearsing its lines in the mirror, you can see it. This is not trauma-induced hypervigilance or paranoia. It is heavenly fire formed in a superhuman intellect. The events that once caught you off guard have now turned into your early warning system. You are now instantly alerted to things that used to evade your defenses. The opposition relied on surprise strikes and covert plans throughout their whole operation. However, because your spirit is continuously searching frequencies that people are unaware you can sense, you can no longer be shocked. Promote this video so that additional people who are selected like you may discover it if its message resonates with you. Because you will perceive everything that occurred to you differently when I tell you about your new world. Maybe you can recall it, maybe it's buried deep in your brain, but there was a time when everything depended on it. You have been driven to the limit of human endurance by the adversary. All the resources were exhausted. All the support systems had broken down. All justifications for continuing the battle had been methodically eliminated. Their calculations ensured your capitulation at this point, which was their checkmate moment. However, something occurred at that very instant that sent shockwaves across all of existence's dimensions. Rather of collapsing, there was an outburst of defiance, so pure, so strong, so revolutionary that it really altered the rules of physics in the spiritual world. You didn't just refuse to give up. You waged war on the idea of losing. When you were at your weakest, you turned into the most deadly version of yourself in history. You are not the only one saved by that announcement. It changed the world around you. You experienced a lasting change in the spiritual principles that govern your life. What formerly had legitimate access to your life immediately lost its authorization. Something that used to drain your energy has its link permanently broken. What used to be able to control your emotions found that its frequency had been permanently blocked. They will always be haunted by your survival. The opponent remembers more than simply their failure. Every time they think of assaulting another selected one, they have to go through it again. Something they can't get away from has taken the place of the confidence they previously had. The indisputable recollection of their complete humiliation. All of their plots flopped horribly. Their alliances all fell apart. All of their predictions turned out to be disastrously incorrect. They now have to deal with the mental anguish of realizing that their greatest weapons fell short. Their timing was not right. There was a deadly weakness in their infallible plan. They undervalued your inner deity. They are unable to launch an effective assault because of this haunting. Before they could organize, the recollection of their failure would undermine their confidence, even if they wished to try again. They are now imprisoned in the echo of your triumph, captives of their own failure. Every time they see your success, it serves as a reminder that their whole worldview, which held that selected ones should be destroyed, was incorrect. You've turned into a live example of how ineffective their propaganda is against someone who doesn't believe it. This is a total reversal of the psychological warfare. Your success torments their awareness with evidence of their helplessness, while before they plagued your mind with whispers of inadequacy. They recall that their most concerted onslaught failed against a single person who refused to accept their decision, and they wake up if creatures like that ever sleep. Every time your name is brought up, it has become into a trigger word that sends a shockwave through their ranks. In hell, they've had to start support groups to cope with the anguish of not breaking you. Consider that. Demons in treatment because a selected individual refused to adhere to their plan. Their incapacity is shown by the infrastructure they constructed with the express purpose of destroying you. All of that preparation, all of those resources, all of those organized strikes. And for it, what do they have to offer? They promised that the only sound that would last forever would be the echo of your laughter as you emerge from the ashes. Whether calculations went wrong is still a mystery to them. Continuously running diagnostics on a machine incapable of understanding faith that goes beyond mathematics. Their existence has turned into an intractable puzzle, a persistent problem, and a nightmare that keeps playing whenever they shut their eyes. Your coronation ceremony was what you believed to be your annihilation. The whole nightmare was heaven's method of creating a crown that cannot be taken away by any earthly or demonic power. Every painful moment was driving unmistakable authority into your soul. Wisdom that cannot be imparted in comfort was being tempered by each tear. Every betrayal helped to develop discernment, which is impossible without dishonesty. You've moved beyond bandaging your wounds and wishing for better times. You've entered a state of revelation when the whole reason for your pain is becoming clear. You no longer wear a crown adorned with gems or gold. It is made from authority that has undergone the most rigorous testing. Power squeezed from suffering, knowledge extracted from impossible. The way that reality reacts to your presence is completely altered by this crown. These days, doors don't simply open for you. They open themselves when they realize you're approaching. Opportunities come to you like iron to a magnet. They don't simply happen. Resources move toward you like a gravitational force. They don't simply appear. Your case file has been sealed in the Supreme Court of Heaven with a final decision. All of your tears were recorded as proof. All the betrayals were meticulously recorded. Scales that never lie were used to weigh every injustice. That choice carried the full force of divine law when the gavel descended and your season was deemed to be over. A decision from the highest court in the universe cannot be overturned by any power in heaven, earth, or hell. With no chance of appeal, the case against your peace is closed forever. Contracts that used to bind you to pain have been ruled invalid with retroactive effect. They are expunged from the spiritual record, so the adversary can no longer even mention them, and they are canceled moving forward, as if they never were. Documentation proving your untouchability in the spirit world is now carried by you. The stamp of completeness on your spirit is visible to all entities who come into contact with you, and they are fully aware of its meaning. In addition to being pointless, further assaults would automatically result in reprisal from troops they are unable to repel. Your personal safety is just one aspect of the legal ramifications. Every selected person experiencing comparable struggles is impacted by the precedents your success has created. Now, while defending others, attorneys in heaven's judicial system bring up your case. Your survival is used as evidence that certain forms of pain have boundaries, that some assaults are survivable, and that some decisions are definitive. In the spiritual judicial system, you've become case law, and individuals you'll never meet are using your triumph to win wins. Here's the most potent insight into what just transpired, however. You haven't just had your membership to hell's torture terminated. Your existence tainted their whole business plan. You see, their tactics of devastation are tried and true, and their patterns are predictable. Their whole system is now in question because of your stubbornness to deviate from their calculations. Around the planet, other selected people are abruptly realizing that the patterns that decimated their predecessors are no longer effective. There are glitches in the curses. Inexplicably, the generational debts are being forgiven. There is no regeneration of the cycles. Your triumph set off a chain reaction that continues to spread across dimensions. They are profiting from the precedent you set each time another selected one resists breaking under circumstances intended to shatter them. Not only did you rescue yourself, for the whole selected network, you became a system update. You're the software update that resolved a flaw that the adversary had been using for several generations. Hell is essentially declaring spiritual bankruptcy as their main source of income. Broken chosen ones is dwindling more quickly than they can come up with fresh plans. You were never supposed to be a subscriber to Hell Service. The virus that would taint their programming from the inside out was always going to be you. They lured you into their system as a Trojan horse because they believed you were another victim. Rather, you were the virus that would reveal all of their infrastructure's flaws. Heaven's hackers now have the access codes to destroy centuries-old strongholds because of your existence. You must fully comprehend that your triumph was a landslide. This was neither a fortuitous break nor a tight escape. Heaven was planning an all-encompassing triumph that would be so total and overpowering that it could never be questioned or undone while you were barely hanging on. You were calling up celestial troops with each desperate prayer you said. You were allowing heavenly intervention procedures with each tear you cried in solitude. The heavenly was so near that it was actually breathing in your lungs whenever you felt abandoned. The adversary was tracking your health data, calculating that triumph was theirs, assessing your financial account, and counting the number of connections you still had. However, the dashboard they were viewing was incorrect. Their monitoring couldn't reach the regions where your genuine combat was taking place. Heaven was building an unbreakable foundation in unseen dimensions while they were destroying your apparent existence. It wasn't an abrupt landslide. It was the result of several wins in the invisible world coming to pass in the material world. Because of your survival, reality has reoriented itself to accommodate you. In your presence, weaker energies lose their molecular structure due to the power of the spiritual environment you now bear. Being around you makes lying unpleasant. When you are there, manipulation becomes less effective. When you show up, toxic people instantly recall important meetings. It's not necessary for you to actively maintain this. The outcome of your frequency upgrade is automatic. Every restriction the adversary said was unchangeable has been contradicted by your very existence. Even if they are unable to describe the changes, people are aware of this change. They see that you are acting from a position of power that they respect without realizing it. Without requesting it, you exude a weight that demands attention. Just your presence calms the turmoil in other people's situations. You've turned into a walking producer of breakthroughs without even trying. Not only does your testimony encourage others, it actually gives their circumstances breakthrough anointing. Your victory's multiplicative impact is still being calculated. The same breakthrough frequency is carried by everyone who hears your tale and believes. You are not the only one saved by your survival. It started a chain of redemption that spreads more quickly than the darkness can stop it. The greatest fear for the adversary is coming to pass. Thousands of others have realized they are also unbreakable as a result of one selected individual who refused to break. The spiritual DNA of humanity's chosen ones is actually being rewritten by your survival. You have evolved into a walking enhancement of the heavenly warrior's collective awareness. Restoring what was taken is just one aspect of the repair that is now underway. Delivering what was always yours but was kept in escrow until you demonstrated your ability to manage it is what it is. In reality, every loss was a heavenly investment that would soon mature with interest computed at the rates of heaven. Time is speeding up to restore the years that the locusts consumed. What took years to lose is coming back in a matter of days. Things that seem to be irreparably damaged are being brought back to life in more exquisite forms than before. Aspects of your life that you were unaware were harmed are included in this healing. We're reactivating potentials you forgot you possessed. With divine CPR, dreams you buried are coming back to life. Gifts with improved features that were put on hold during survival mode are now being reactivated. You're gaining more than just your life back. The life that was always meant for you, but needed this hardship to open is now yours. It wasn't punishment that caused the pain. It was the intricate code to a vault that contained valuables too expensive to open without demonstrating your ability to protect them. At the molecular level, your body is undergoing improvements that science cannot explain. Every stress-damaged cell is being reconstructed to the highest standards. Your brain is being rewired to focus on restoration rather than survival. Your heart is discovering serenity rhythms it has never experienced before. You're using your thoughts to uncover clarity frequencies that were jumbled during combat. Your soul is growing into realms that were closed off to you throughout your ordeal. You're developing into a kind of human that surpasses typical boundaries, not merely recovering. Others may see the synchronicities you're going to encounter as magical, but they're just reality reacting to your new frequency. When the time is right, the proper individuals will show up. Unexpected sources will provide resources. Supernatural timing will match opportunities. You will discover that doors that were welded shut were always intended to open for you. This is neither a coincidence or a case of luck. The universe is adjusting your path to recognize who you really are. Your financial recovery will include bonuses for surpassing heaven's expectations, hazard pay for surviving what others couldn't, overtime for every additional fight you waged, and back pay for every hour you endured. Perfect books are kept in the cosmos, and all of the money that was kept back, all of the opportunities that were turned down, and all of the resources that were taken away have been building up in an account that will soon be released with compound interest. The adversary was depositing money into your heavenly trust fund, but they believed they were robbing you. The narrative of your love life is going to take a turn that romance films couldn't have imagined. All of the relationships that ended, those who were deceived, and the connections that fell through were removing themselves from a position for which they lacked the necessary qualifications. Right now, someone is being prepared who can complement your divine mission, manage your enhanced authority, and fit your new frequency. Rejection wasn't the weight. It was supernatural defense against relationships that would have constrained your potential. You will need to learn new medical terms when your health improves. Previously classified chronic conditions are now being shown to be transient. Systems that were in decline are reviving. Depleted energy is coming back in excess. Your cellular expectations have been rewritten by your body's memory of its original design, which was imprinted prior to trauma. Removing sickness is just one aspect of healing. It's bringing your body back to its former splendor. Expression is going to burst from the creative qualities that were repressed throughout survival. Words are pouring like rivers that you couldn't locate. High-definition visions that you couldn't see are emerging. Perfectly pitched songs that you couldn't hear are playing. Your hands are creating art that you couldn't produce. Your originality was not destroyed by the trial. It was maturing it, fermenting it, getting it ready to be released with a power that would make everyone who drinks it feel intoxicated. Your spiritual abilities are now quantum instead than analog. Things that formerly required effort now happen on their own. High definition has replaced ambiguity. What was once sporadic is now regular. You have advanced directly from spiritual elementary school to a position of leadership at the PhD level. It is not a new present. Although they were always there, their full activation required the strain of your trial. They are now up and running at a level that even heaven finds surprising. Heaven's accounting department is presently calculating the effect of your narrative. Your tears sowed seeds in the fates of others. Every conflict you fought paved the door for another. Everyone may now access anyone you claimed. Some forms of anguish are essentially outdated because of your existence. Previously inevitable battles are now optional. What were once inconceivable victories are now feasible. For each selected person who follows you, you have altered the odds. The Hall of Fame in heaven has your name on it. More crucially, however, it's no longer on hell's target list. You become untouchable, therefore you're no longer a target. Your acquired immunity is permanent and unconditional. It is all-encompassing and everlasting. What used to hurt you now makes you stronger. What used to hold you back now helps you go ahead. What used to be your downfall now serves as fire for your triumph. Fire. A worldwide message about you has been distributed by the enemy's intelligence network. Don't participate. The highest rating has been given to this one. This one has immunity, which causes retribution to happen automatically. We don't have any categories for this one, since it has survived the unsuspected. The active targets in your file have been changed to permanent failure examples. They now use you as a case study to illustrate to their soldiers the perils of underestimating those they have selected. A memo has also been distributed by Heaven's network in the meantime. All limitations were removed. Every resource is approved. Every backup has been authorized. This one has shown itself to be quite faithful. You may entrust the impossible to this person. For many, this one represents a breakthrough. Angels have been particularly appointed to help you succeed. Prosperity, connection, acceleration, and multiplication angels are in addition to protection angels. Your whole angelic crew is working for you. With extraordinary speed, the dreams you had to put on hold while in survival mode are about to return. Divine time manipulation will restore the time you lost. Months will pass when it should take years. Weeks will pass before what should take months. Days will pass when it should take weeks. You're about to enter a season in which the calendars of heaven and earth run differently. Your influence is growing beyond your physical boundaries, and you're ready to have the type of quick manifestation that has others wondering, how did that happen so fast? Traveling via spiritual airways to locations you have never visited is your tale. Your breakthrough is affecting people you have never met. You are celebrating your win in realms you are unaware of. You've achieved fame in invisible worlds. In councils you're unaware of, your name matters. Authorities that you haven't met are making decisions that will benefit you. Your victory codes are automatically updated for each selected individual who interacts with your tale due to the quantum entanglement of your breakthrough. It's similar to distributing spiritual software, where your breakthrough is made available to those who are experiencing insurmountable obstacles. Strategies from fights you have previously won are being sent to prayer warriors in other time zones. Intelligence reports from areas you've previously taken over are sent to intercessors. Every continent's spiritual conflicts are using your triumph, which has turned into open source code for vanquishing evil. A special task force has been established by the angelic realm just to investigate your case. How you managed to survive what their model said was impossible is being examined. Heaven's military minds are teaching you resistance tactics. By divine favor, your endurance threshold has emerged as the new benchmark for assessing human potential. Because you disprove their presumptions, angels who believe they understood human limits are having to revise their manuals. Heaven wasn't only impressed with you. You taught it about the possibilities that arise when people fully align with the will of God. Your life's next chapter has already been written. Furthermore, it's not at all like the endurance-focused chapter you just made it through. Enjoyment is the topic of this chapter, where the topic of that chapter was survival. The topic of this chapter is revival, where testing was covered in that chapter. Testimony is the topic of this chapter, where breaking was the topic of that chapter. The topic of this chapter is breakthrough, the pen that wrote. Your suffering has been taken away from the enemy and given to heaven's best storytellers. But let me tell you about the ripple effect your survival has created in bloodlines you don't even know are connected to yours. When you broke that generational curse, you didn't just free your direct lineage. You freed cousin branches, distant relatives, and spiritual bloodlines that share your frequency. People you've never met are suddenly breaking free from patterns they thought were permanent. Addictions are losing their grip. Cycles of poverty are mysteriously ending. Patterns of broken relationships are healing. All because one chosen one, you stood at the intersection of generational highways and redirected traffic away from destruction. Your DNA has literally been upgraded to broadcast breakthroughs. Scientists would call it impossible, but your genetic code now carries frequencies that activate healing in others just by proximity. When you walk into a room, dormant gifts in other people wake up. When you speak, chains in other souls start cracking. When you smile, hope that was buried under years of disappointment resurrects. You've become a walking defibrillator for dead dreams, shocking them back to life with the electricity of your testimony. Now, let me put you on to something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation, and attacks while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your eyes. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology. The same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition, and scarcity. Re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with a cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. Chosen one, the congratulations you're receiving aren't just for surviving. They're for completing an assignment that rewrote the rules of spiritual warfare. You were selected to prove that hell's best weapons could be survived that generational curses could be broken by one person's refusal to comply, that systematic destruction could be overcome by systematic faith. You didn't just pass the test. You destroyed the test and proved it was built on false assumptions about human capacity. The never again promise isn't wishful thinking. It's mathematical certainty based on spiritual law. You've graduated from a university of suffering with credentials that exempt you from repeat courses. The lessons have been learned. The tests have been passed. The certification has been earned. There's no spiritual legal precedent for making someone repeat what they've already conquered. The universe doesn't require encore performances of miracles already documented. Your new reality operates on different physics entirely. Where the old reality said suffering was inevitable, the new reality says victory is guaranteed. Where the old reality said cycles would repeat, the new reality says patterns are permanently broken. Where the old reality said you were vulnerable, the new reality says you're invincible. These aren't motivational statements. They're legal facts in the spiritual realm, documented, sealed, and enforced by authorities that outrank any force that could oppose you. The celebration in heaven continues because your victory keeps revealing new implications. Every day uncovers another system that has to be recalibrated because of your survival. Every moment reveals another chosen one who broke free because you proved it was possible. Every breath you take in freedom announces to the universe that what was once considered impossible is now standard operating procedure for chosen ones who refuse to quit. It's done. Completely, irreversibly, eternally done. The trial is over. The verdict is final. The sentence has been served.